Welcome to Trash Talk, a podcast by Zero Waste Canada. I'm your host, Alistair McCall. I moved to Canada in 2017 from England, and I've since held a variety of roles in the waste industry, and currently sit on the Zero Waste Canada board. On this podcast, we will dive deep into the world of zero waste and the circular economy, speaking with change makers who are helping to lead us to a more waste-free, sustainable planet. Okay, Trash Talk is back. October is here. Where has the year gone? We're joined by Sean Miles. So, Sean, who are you? What's your kind of background, and what brought you to the Binners Project?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, my name is Sean Miles. I'm the director of Binners Project, and I have been with the organization for 4 years and worked in the downtown east side of Vancouver for the last almost 10 years now.
Great. And then, can you tell us what the Binners Project is, what kind of started it, and what's its mission?
For sure. Binners Project started in 2015. And was founded by a binner alongside a couple of other folks. A gentleman by the name of Ken Liotier, who before starting Binner's Project had previously started a binner-led bottle depot that operated in the downtown east side and still exists to this day, called United We Can. And the goal of launching Binner's Project was to have an organization that focused on specifically the stigma attached to around binning and waste picking, the as well as helping to organize and advocate for better working conditions for binners. As it's grown, to also find new ways to utilize the skills of binners to increase their opportunities for income primarily. So, as we currently stand, we are a charity, and we've always been a charity and a social enterprise that operates primarily in Vancouver's downtown east side. And we work with binners, who are people that collect cans, bottles, refundables, other items for resale or that have value out of waste bins off the streetscape and in buildings around the city. And our work primarily focuses on increasing opportunities for binners to generate income in the day-to-day of our work. That happens through our social enterprise program, which is a fee-for-service program where we're contracted by buildings, individual businesses, large-scale residential businesses, healthcare providers to go in with teams of binners to the waste rooms of those different facilities and sort through the waste that is in their different streams. This involves opening those bags and pulling out things that are intended for recycling streams and avoiding as much as possible ending up in landfill. So that work happens year round. As well, for our social enterprise, we run public waste education at events. This is primarily through the summer, through the event season in Vancouver, and that looks like binners stationed at the waste stations throughout an event space. And they're helping the public, ensuring they're putting things in the right bin. They're sorting through the waste in those bins to ensure as little as possible is ending up in landfill. And in some sites, we also have a small team of back of house waste sorters that are doing an extra layer of filtering to ensure that we're reducing the impact on the environment as much as possible. Alongside of the social enterprise work, we also do a number of infrastructure projects that are intended to focus on supporting the capacity of binners to do their work in the community or to destigmatize the work that they're doing in the community. Notably, the first thing we did under this umbrella was a binner's hook. So it's just a simple stainless steel hook that binners or that people can buy, homeowners or residents of the city or any city can buy that they install in their back alley. That just allows someone to hang a bag of refundables so that a binner can see that. They know they don't need to dig through the bin because the person there has done the work for them of pulling out those things that are of value. And it makes that interaction easier. It reduces the kind of amount of time they need to take at that site and also reduces the noise or any potential for mess. So we've had that in place for a number of years. And then we're in the process of launching a what we call the Universal Cart Initiative, which is essentially a cart sharing system for binners, which are these are purpose-built carts for binning that binners would be able to check out of a station, go around and do their binning, and then return them at a station near a bottle depot to use another time. So that once it launches, that'll allow our binners to greatly increase their capacity for what they can do on a daily basis and not have to worry about things like trying to get, a grocery cart or other things that have a lot of stigma on top of them and are also not built for that. So we see a lot of binners who, when we consulted about this project, who talk about the fact that those carts aren't designed for long distance. They're not designed to really haul cans and bottles in the way that binners need it, but they make do because that's the best they can to try and maximize how much they can collect in any given day.
Yeah.
We also have a public representation program that, whenever possible, provides opportunities for binners to share directly their experience, their expertise when it comes to waste picking and make sure that they're compensated for that work of knowledge sharing. So we do that through consultations with the city, with the province, various ministries, and then also other organizations that might be doing consultation or work. And then we also run tours and workshops that bring binners to share about their own experience. Yeah, that's the bulk of what we do.
Yeah, a lot of great work going on there. It's good to hear. You mentioned, yeah, waste sorting earlier on. That has a
Mhm.
huge impact on diversion. Can you
Yeah.
point to like one or two examples of projects and what impact that sorting has had?
Yeah, I think one of the best examples in recent memory I can give is that St. Paul's Hospital, which is one of the local hospitals in Vancouver. It's downtown. It's kind of in the thick of things. They brought us on a year and a half ago. Because they, like many of the hospitals in the Lower Mainland and around where we are not eligible to be a part of the recycling system because they were seeing so much contamination in their plastics and in their paper streams that essentially their haulers and all of those haulers had said, this isn't clean enough, so you basically it's all going to end up going to landfill. Or I think in Vancouver specifically, a lot of it goes to the incinerator.
Mm. Yeah.
But St. Paul's had said, no, we want to do better. We want to be the first in BC, I think, to be back in the recycling system. And so they brought us on uh, and now we sort 7 days a week at their site. We usually have 1 to 2 binners there for up to 10 hours a day sorting waste. And on average, we've been diverting 80 or so percent of their waste from that was coming through from landfill. So 80% of it that would have been in landfill is now going into those proper waste streams, and they've been able to resume getting regular pickups for those refundable or for the recyclables as well as their landfill, and have seen that really grow and expand. And we've, as a result, have had some great interest from other health authorities that are looking at this in other facilities. So it's something we're actively exploring, but it's a very recent example of where we've seen the impact of our work on a business and their ability to reduce their environmental impact.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I guess there's like huge volumes we're talking about there too. That's huge
Yeah,
win to divert that
yeah, it's
landfill
tons and tons of
originally.
waste each year. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Any new projects lined up you can share, or any kind of new partnerships you're working on that we could see Ben as involved in the near future?
Yeah, we've been talking with BC Place, one of the local stadiums,
Yep.
and are just recently sent a proposal to try for some pilot with them, looking at some event-based work, so supporting post-event diversion at their stadium. And then as well, like I mentioned, we've been in active conversation with a few other hospitals in the region to explore increasing our work in that healthcare sector, which is, I
Yeah.
think, an area that there's a lot of interest and
Hmm.
potential that we're kind of excited to see where that goes.
I guess BC Place being in a World Cup year almost would be a big one. Lots of
Yeah,
people coming into the city to go to the games and so on. Lots of
exactly.
waste being produced. So it'd be great to,
Yeah.
yeah, see you
Exactly.
involved
So it's
there.
a good time to kind of trial that with the idea that there might be opportunities around the World Cup or just in general. They're a busy
Yeah,
large event space and there's things throughout the year that happen, and so it'd be great to be able to provide those opportunities for our folks. Yeah.
great. And then each year you host a coffee cup deposit scheme. Could you mention more about that and kind of what
Yeah.
kind of started that off and then the impact that's had as well?
Yeah, so actually, the Coffee Cup Revolution, as it's called, is an event that predates the project. We actually did the very first one in 2014, just before we officially started in 2015. And essentially, this was mirrored after Ken Leotier, his initial efforts in the 90s to uh, expand the refund system in British Columbia. So at the time when that work was happening, only beer cans and beer bottles were a part of the refund system. And so what Ken did in Victory Square Park, the same place where we host our event, he created pop-up depots and got binners in the community to bring their pop cans, to bring their water bottles, to bring all of the other things that are now a part of the refund system in BC, to bring all of those and say, look, there's a strong interest and ability for binners to support these efforts. And it was, and I you don't know that we could claim that it was the sole reason that happened, but it did end up happening in BC, and I don't think that that was without that event happening. And so the Coffee Cup Revolution was a similar idea that Ken had proposed, as, again, part of the first efforts of the Binners Project to expand the refund system to include coffee cups. And so what we do and what we've done for this will be the 12th year of this event, is we host a one-day pop-up depot for used coffee cups.
Yeah.
And essentially on that day, if you come to the depot, all used coffee cups are worth 10 cents. Last year, over 3 hours, we collected 178,000 cups.
Wow.
So $17,000 in the pockets of binners in the community. So there's a lot of there's an economic benefit to the community, to the binner community that we see of this event. There's the advocacy piece of looking at supporting refund or a broader expanded refund system. And then alongside that, we always do community engagement with the community at large, but also the binners that are outside of our program that we don't always engage with. And this year, we're really excited because we have some of our friends from the North America Waste Picker Alliance that are joining us. So we have some friends from Portland and New York and Montreal that are all going to be at the event and able to talk about what waste picking, what binning looks like in their communities and what their work is and where the overlaps are and what and also where things are different. There's obviously a lot of differences in legislation when it comes to refunds and recyclables that we
Yeah.
see in different areas. So it should be a really great time. It's actually happening next week. So
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, the data on the site shows you've actually increased your intake of cups year on year, which is great to
yeah,
fundraise. But I guess like my zero waste hat on here, it looks like also on the flip side, people are still using coffee cups, which in a way is negative. But I guess yeah, fundraising great, but then maybe one day we'll see a decrease in your annual intake as there's been
exactly.
more reuse or more awareness around yeah, zero
Yeah.
waste and that kind of area too. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We've we've all I've always recognized that this event doesn't necessarily it's not that it works against things like zero waste efforts,
Yeah.
but it's also
Yeah.
looking at how to reduce the harm of those cups until better solutions come along that do see that more broad reduction in their use. And I think what we've come to see in recent years too is the potential for the coffee cup revolution to really just be, frankly, about the power binners have to support any kind of waste collection,
Yeah.
whether that's coffee cups or another item. That we say, look, we can show that binners would be willing and able if you put a bounty on an item, and that there is people out there in the community that will help support that item getting where it needs to go. And that's really, I think, the main thing we focus on these days, aside from coffee cups themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. Yeah. I want to come on to kind of tech in waste, and yeah, question around this is there's more and more tech coming into the industry, which is great from a data point, from AI coming in and helping, businesses look at what's going in their bins, how to improve, all those kind of aspects. I wanted to ask you why it's important to retain things like binners, where it's more people focused, and how those kind of like two areas, tech and people, can mesh and kind of work in
Yeah.
harmony, let's say.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, well, as especially with something like AI, we also know there is an environmental toll that AI plays
Yeah,
on in its use. So I think it's not always such a clean equation when you look at it from the perspective of waste and like using AI to help reduce waste, but AI is itself driving waste or environmental harm.
yeah,
So I think that's one thing that's kind of important to recognize in that. And it's not to say that there aren't potential applications of things like AI. But if the net goal is to support the environment, it's making sure that that's a part of the equation that I think isn't always the case. Whereas it's a little easier and more clean cut to do when you're talking about people, and so we think that there's still a strong place for people to be involved, and because one of the other pieces that is important to recognize with even if like identifying where waste is not going where it should be and those types of pieces is you still have to be able to include people in that conversation
yeah,
and being able to communicate that and share that with, the residents in a building and being able to talk to them about that because if they just see a report that says XYZ, that's only going to go so far as opposed to having someone be able to talk them through and explain to them the importance of these things. And that's part of what we see bidders as being able to do is to be able to speak as experts in waste and waste diversion, and that you do lose in some technological elements. I think we've seen value. We do data collection at a number of our sites, and so there's definitely value in being able to quantify even the work that we're doing with technology, and so I think there's definitely value in technology as a way to support some of those efforts. But I think if when we talk especially about waste and we're talking a lot about behavior change. We're talking about in people. So the more you try and remove people from parts of the equation, might make it harder for you to engage with the people that you actually need to make the change to actually see those things happen. So I think there's a disconnect that will happen the more we kind of try and remove people from those equations. I think the added benefit we see, and we talk about this specifically in the work that we do, and when we talk about our social enterprise clients, is we provide not just the benefits, the environmental benefits, we provide social benefits in that the folks that we work with, binners in general, are typically people that have barriers to more formal forms of employment. Many of them got into binning out of a sense of survival or a sense of need, and so we're dealing with a relatively marginalized group, and we're
yeah,
able to provide low barrier income opportunities for those folks in a way that's hard to do in this neighborhood and in general. And so I think if you add that into the equation, it makes it also that the impact is kind of multiplied in a way that you don't see with technology. Because yes, you might achieve your some of those same goals when it comes to your environmental impact, but you're not going to get the added kind of benefits that you would get from the social impact. A lot of these days it's what is it? ESG is, often, and especially in the corporate world, you talk about environmental, social, and governance, and we hit the E and the S very easily with a lot of corporate and larger partners that have those goals. And so I think it makes it part of our argument for why our services are necessary, and an easier sell sometimes because of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, being in the corporate space myself, yeah, I would definitely agree with you on like looking at how to like engage people on waste. I think the on the ground, face-to-face interaction, that really is what drives home diversion and education on waste because things are always changing in that space. The items go in different bins, 1 year to the
Yeah.
next, and so on. So I definitely agree that yeah, the interaction needs to be retained, even with new tech coming into play. From
Mhm.
what I'm seeing day to day, yeah, I love tech. The podcast has lots of tech on it, so
Yeah.
it's definitely a helpful integration in waste because
Yeah.
waste is behind other areas and the measurements, that kind of stuff. So there's
Mhm.
space for both, I see, and yeah, I definitely agree that yeah, on the ground, face to face, that's where the most impact can be made in yeah, education and so on, like I was saying. So
Yeah.
behind you
Yeah.
on that point fully. Um, yeah, closing off here, Sean. So, what are some future goals for the Binners project? You mentioned kind of new partnerships you've got planned, but what's kind of the long-term vision you can share with us? And then finally, where can we learn more about what's going on?
Yeah. We're continuing to grow and expand our social enterprise program. We're looking at, I think that's something that we see. There's a lot of long-term opportunities for growth with that program. We have about 80 or so people that come to our weekly Binners meeting where we give out opportunities, we talk about the work of the project, and we very rarely have enough shifts to give everyone. There's always more. There's at least now there's still more room for us to give opportunities for folks, and we have people willing to work and that want to work. So we see a lot of room for growth there. We're also looking at ways in which we can diversify that revenue and that kind of service offering. We're looking at expanding our waste kind of auditing support and our ability to help with some of those pieces around data and data collection. And so that's an area we see. We're also looking at things like being able to pick up refunds for folks from businesses like in the community, using Binners to support those efforts in a more kind of meaningful way, as something to explore. And like I talked about earlier, one of the big things that we're is on the horizon for us is the launch of this universal cart initiative, which would again put these carts down on the street and allow folks to use them. And there'll be a lot that will go into developing or to kind of building that system out and testing it out and then growing it. And we see a lot of potential for expansion, especially with things like grocery stores and that might not want to see their carts being taken. It's like, hey, well, we can put a station down near your place if you're willing to give us some money. So there's some like that stuff that I think we see a lot of potential for growth. And then as far as where you can find out more about Binner's project, I would definitely recommend you come check out our website. It's binnersproject.org, binnersproject.org, where there's lots of great information, lots of videos. You can see kind of the work in action, and yeah, that's definitely the best place to find out more.
Great. Well, thanks, Sean. It was great to learn more and speak soon.
Yeah, thanks, Alistair. Nice to meet you.